594-HOPE. That's 1-866-594-4673. And now, the Reverend Jesse Jackson.
We're a winner, and never let anybody say, well, you can't make it, cause a feeble mind is in your way. No more tears go we cry, and we have finally dried our eyes, and we're moving on up, moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up, moving on up. We're living proof in all those life that we're too from.
Welcome to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson. It's a joy to be with you today on Sunday, August 14th, 2022. Where has the summer gone, everybody? Enjoy the rest of it while you can. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson, coming to you on the iHeartRadio network and on YouTube, on the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel, and on Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior's page and the Santita Jackson and Friends page. Let's talk about the midterms. Let's talk about the week that was. Boy, oh boy, in politics, Reverend Jackson has always told us, just blink your eyes, everything can change. Well, President Trump's, former President Trump's and present President Biden's have seen a reversal of fortune. At least that's what we might think this week. It could be the opposite. So let's talk about that, everybody, on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Let's talk about that today. Let's talk about what Democrats can do in this moment. Voter registration, fighting voter suppression. Do we need an executive order to secure our voting rights so that Democrats can win in the fall? I mean, there's just a lot that is at stake here. So let's talk about that on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We'll be back with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a few minutes, but let's go over this. On Friday, the president secured what we call the final piece of his economic agenda with the passage of a $740 billion climate and prescription drug deal once thought dead. He worked with Senator Joe Manchin on it, and of course, Vice President Kamala Harris broke the tie. In addition, gas prices dipped below $4 a gallon for the first time since March. He had a really, really good week. Inflation appears to be stabilizing. And the economy added more than 500,000 jobs in July, bringing the unemployment rate to 3.5%. But the pain that people are feeling is real still. So we need to talk about that. And President Biden, a member of Al-Qaeda, indeed one of the leaders, the leader, was killed under his direction. A blow to the terrorist network. But while President Trump didn't have such a glorious week, it seems that he's making lemonade out of lemons. His home was raided by the FBI. It turns out their Espionage Act charges that prompted this raid, but we'll have to see what all of that means because the Espionage Act is very broad, very broad. Remember, Julian Assange and Chelsea Manning are also being charged under that as well. So what is going on? Well, now many of his supporters are saying, even people who did not want him to run in 2024, are saying that he needs to announce for 2024. So who won and who lost last week? Well, that's hard to determine. But what is not hard to determine is voter registration. That can happen. That can make a difference. Voter suppression is making a difference. We're going to talk about all of that on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. So I want you to call us at 1-866-594-HOPE, 1-866-594-4673, and join Reverend Jackson. John Nichols will be with us in the second hour. David Daly will be with us right now, Senior Fellow for Fair Vote, author of the great books Rat Effed and Unrigged. You must get them. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, past president of the National Bar Association, the largest and oldest black bar association in the world, and she's the chair of Rainbow Push. Attorney Robert Patillo, Southeastern Regional Director for Rainbow Push. Of course, he will be on the air on WAOK today from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time. Attorney Hoffler is on every Tuesday at 11 o'clock on the same station of WAOK. Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary, Vice President, Rainbow Push, Senior Pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church in Baltimore. Attorney Barbara Arline will be joining us later. Founder, President of the Transformative Justice Coalition. Attorney Darrell Jones, who is Chairman of that same group. The preeminent advocates for the vote in the United States. They will be joining us.
I've been trying to call you.
And so let us get right to it.
So, hold on.
What about the vote? How will it impact the midterm? It seems like the vote is more important than ever before. Call us at 1-866-594-HOPE. Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Back in just a minute.
Hey, we're moving on up. Moving on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up. Moving on up. I don't mind leaving here to show the world we have no fear, cause we're a winner. And everybody knows the truth, but just keep on pushing. Like your leaders tell you to.
No, you never expect
And
to
as
see
the
this.
messages come,
You're
and I don't care.
1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866-5.
All right, Reverend. Right now you have Attorney Robert Patillo on and CK.
Reverend?
You can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. Reverend?
Yes.
Okay, please forgive me for not bringing you on. I didn't have my headphones on, okay?
I couldn't get them on.
Okay. Bruce's number is much better phone.
I've been
Okay.
trying to call.
Okay, no,
Wait.
Reverend. We're on Facebook. Please don't do that yet.
I'll call Bruce.
You gotta call me then.
Yeah, I've been trying to call him. It just kept on ringing. I'll call him now.
Stay there until we get Bruce, okay, Reverend?
Okay.
Thank you. Whew. I'll be right back.
Bruce?
Yeah.
I'm locking Reverend in. You can hang up the other phone. All right, Reverend, I'm going to disconnect you from your phone. Are we having a hard time getting anyone?
Yo, what's up? It's Diego. Yeah, it is me.
Who's that?
I was calling Dave Daly.
Oh,
No, we got CK and Attorney Patillo on.
no. Okay, good.
No.
I cannot hold a girl. It means the darndest thing.
And Reverend's on.
Okay, Reverend?
Yeah.
Okay, Dad. How are you?
Morning, Reverend Gary. Good song.
How you today, Santina?
Good, good.
How you today?
Oh, great.
So am I.
Okay, I can hear that. You sound great.
Hi, Reverend. You sound great.
You really
Thank you very
do.
much.
You really do, Dad.
Morning, Reverend.
Robert Patillo.
Hey, man, how you doing, Robert?
Reverend, we're coming up.
Okay.
594 4673.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I'm Santita Jackson, dedicating the show to one of Reverend's dear friends, Sam Gooden, a founding member of the iconic soul group, The Impressions, of course, led by, most famously, by Curtis Mayfield. For Your Precious Love, Moving On Up, Amen, Gypsy Woman, Keep On Pushing. They just kept on giving us the hits and songs of inspiration, and we thank God for Sam Gooden and his life and works. And of course, the great Curtis Mayfield. They were all great, all great, all great. Sending them so much love today. Everybody, let's talk about the vote in 2022. Reverend Jackson, you wanted to talk about this today, but we had to talk about it within the context of the week that was. Oh my gosh. You know, the president at the beginning of the week had such a great week. Secured the final piece of his economic agenda. It scaled back from the 16 trillion that Bernie Sanders first offered that would have given Americans so much relief. But he was able to get something. A huge climate deal, prescription drug deal, once thought to be dead. Now, Bernie Sanders, for his portion, says that much more needs to happen. But they got something that they can go campaign on in this campaign season as Congress goes into research, getting into recess, getting ready for the 2022 midterms. Gas prices have dipped below $4 in many parts of the country. They're still extremely high. Inflation appears to be stabilizing, but it's still very, very high. People cannot afford rent, mortgage, food, all kinds of things. But it was a great week for the president. That having been said, while it was not such a great week for former President Trump, he still seems to be benefiting. He's making lemonade out of these lemons that he got after his home was raided under the Espionage Act. We're finding out more and more as the warrant that prompted the raid on his home is unsealed. But the Espionage Act, I caution everyone, is very broad. Julian Assange is charged under the Espionage Act, as is Chelsea Manning and so many whistleblowers. So there's that. And so many people who didn't even think he should run again in 2024 are urging him to announce right now. So, but what can mitigate all of this, Reverend Jackson? You said that the vote can change everything for progressive politics. Reverend Jackson?
In 1960, I left jail in Greensboro, Washington, Marshall, Washington. A huge speech signed by Dr. King. He sent that from only one official in the whole South, General Johnson Atlanta. Every capital, Eastern Virginia, under South, North Carolina, Atlanta, Georgia, all of the southern states, Texas was just, so that we see development. 60 African Americans, 45 Latinos, many sheriff and all that. It's happening at the number. Never happened before.
Okay, well, that having been said, what do you make of this week, Reverend Jackson? I mean, because you're saying that even in the midst of all of this tumult, we need to look at the wins that we've made, the gains that we've made. Yes.
So that I live in Biden, his vision is to have an interest.
Reverend, you know what? Reverend, actually, the phone that we had you on before is much better than the one that we have right now. So, Jeremy Geiger, my technical producer, why don't you call Reverend Jackson back so that we can understand what he's saying? He sounds really clear this morning, but we have the sound just isn't as clear. It's okay. Well, let me. Yes, Reverend.
The point is that we have a vision that includes perhaps the bridge and the people on the bridge, but in North Tennessee. This is Rand Paul, and I thought Christian people was against infrastructure. Tennessee, people died of the lack of it. So that you get Brother Booker was trying to leg up because all you case for people, all you that case off the phone, and then run Paul is time of crisis.
Well, let me start with you. You're going to be talking about this, I'm sure, this afternoon on WAOK from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time, Robert Patillo. What do you make of this week and the push, at least on the progressive side, at least what we're hearing Reverend Jackson say, hey, you got to get registered. You got to get people out here voting.
Well, absolutely. And thank you so much for having me, Santita, and thank you so much, Reverend, for sparking this conversation. I think what people have to remember is that despite all the victories of the Biden administration in the last, let's say, 3 weeks or so, record gas prices decline, stabilization of the economy, the assassination of Al Zawahiri, the passage of the CHIPS Act to bring microchip production back to U.S., passage of the Veterans PACT Act to address victims of burn pits in Agent Orange, passage of the Inflation Reduction Act, Build Back Better 3.0, and on and on and on that we've seen. We still have not seen any action on voting rights, for example. We've not seen any action on criminal justice reform. We've not seen action on many of the parts of the progressive agenda that we stood up, walked around, marched for, organized for, and they got 81 million plus votes in the year 2020. And for that reason, it's important for us not to take our eyes off the prize and begin to become comfortable with where we are as a nation. We have to understand that the fight continues, and we must continue organizing going forward, because that's what's happening on the other side of the aisle. Every midterm, for the most part, whenever there's a midterm elections, after there's a party shift, the party in power loses seats. The Republicans have already said that if they take back the House of Representatives and the Senate, they're going to be investigating Merrick Garland. They're going to be looking to paralyze the government up until 2024. Any hope that we've had at progress will be not just turned back and pushed back and negated as much as possible. While I know some people celebrate President Trump's legal issues, they cannot forget the fact that President Trump is a symptom of a broken system. He is not the broken system in and of himself. You have problems before President Trump ever entered politics. You'll have problems at all points thereafter. And that's why it's important not to simply get into this almost fanatical team sports version of politics, but you have to keep your own political interest in mind and understand the importance of organizing and fighting for these rights, because we still have a Supreme Court that is looking to turn us back to the Articles of Confederation. We already know that within the next 2 terms of the court, much of the Dormant Commerce Clause cases will be overturned. Much of the New Deal legislation will be overturned, and perhaps all of the Civil Rights era legislation will be overturned. And for that reason, you have to have majority from the state and local level, because that will be where the majority of action takes place on a national level. Reverend Jackson continues to fight for the release of Brittany Griner in Russia. But at the same time, we have to look at the release of the reform of drug laws here in America, where thousands of people are arrested and remain state custody for these same reasons. So the need to rally, the need to organize, the need to register people and motivate and educate them to vote is stronger now than ever before. As they say in common sense, these are the times which try men's souls. And for that reason, we have to continue fighting. And as Curtis Mayfield and the Impression said, we got to keep on pushing.
Amen to that. David Daly, what about these numbers? Because hold on one moment, Reverend, because David Daly brings something to forward that you really, really love. You love the numbers. You love the numbers. And help us with that, David Daly, because Democrats are woefully underrepresented in both houses of Congress and at the state level.
Absolutely right. Good morning, Santita. Good morning, Reverend, everybody. This is one of the real inequities in our politics, is that Republicans have figured out over the course of this last decade plus really how to exploit the anti-majoritarian structures in our political system. And this has built them power that they have not earned at the ballot box, that has affected us at all levels of our politics. So you can start with the presidency. You can start with the fact that Republicans have won the presidency without winning the popular vote twice over the course of the last 20 years. Then you can observe that those two presidents that did not win the popular vote have appointed 5 of the 6 conservative justices on the U.S. Supreme Court that have been so active in rolling back protections, have guarded civil rights, that have guarded the regulatory state, that have guarded personal health and reproductive rights. Those Supreme Court justices were confirmed by a U.S. Senate that has such a bias towards small, rural, whiter, more conservative states that if you look right now, for example, the 50 Democrats and the 50 Republicans in the U.S. Senate, those 50 Democrats represent about 41.5 more people. And then if you look at the U.S. House, back in 2012, for example, when Barack Obama is reelected, Democrats gain a seat in the U.S. Senate. The Democratic U.S. House counts 1.4 million more votes for the U.S. House, but Republicans hold the House. It's not even close, 234, 201, thanks to these unprecedented extreme partisan gerrymanders that they enacted after the last Senate that endured for so much of the last decade. Those gerrymanders can continue to be felt at the state legislative level, where after the 2018 election, for example, there were 59 million Americans living in a state in which one or both chambers of their state government was under control of a party that won fewer votes. And in every case there, it was Democrats who won more votes and Republicans who held control anyway. And so in so many states where we see abortion rights or other issues that the legislators are moving one way and the people are moving the other way, they're allowed to do this because they've insulated themselves from the ballot box by rigging electoral maps in their states so that the people can't rein them back in. Ordinarily, the penalty in a representative a democracy for enacting laws that the voters don't want is you lose your seat. But they have gerrymandered themselves into districts that they cannot lose, no matter what they do. And all of this has really affected our politics and pushed it to the extreme.
Reverend Jackson, your thoughts about that?
Let me say this. Number one, critical important. Number one, must fight for the right to vote, not the state's right to must not majority. I'm really convinced person you as this president vote. These politicians vote. Everybody needs the right American package of press and freedom give the vote. So that they uh, 735 reinforced 7. It shall be registered. All citizens.
You know, hold on, Reverend. We're going to have to get you on another phone because we're hearing every other word, and what you're saying is so important, and we can hear you very clearly this morning. CK, I have a couple minutes before we go to break. What are your thoughts? I mean, with a gerrymandered system, and of course, we can't wait to get to Attorney Darrell Jones on the other side of the break, and Reverend Dr. Todd Urey. Attorney Jones, of course, you and Barbara Arnwine have done so much to protect the vote, but it is under threat. C.K. Hoffler, Attorney Hoffler.
Santita, Reverend Jackson, and everyone. Without a question, a threat to the vote. We have to remember to the right to vote. We are in a voter suppression mode in this country. But despite the voter suppression, in a lot of states, we're seeing record numbers of turnout. I mean, we have to remember, for instance, in Kansas, after the overturning of Roe versus Wade, shockingly, Kansas voted to give women the right to determine what happens to their bodies. And so that's just one example of how critical it is to vote, no matter what's happening on a federal level, no matter what the U.S. Supreme Court said in overturning Roe versus Wade. Citizens in Kansas made a determination that they wanted to restore a woman's right to determine what happens to her body in terms of reproductive rights. So that's just a tiny example of what we're seeing. In Georgia, we have the most interesting dynamic and bizarre races going on. We've got one of the most stellar U.S. senators in the country, Senator Raphael Warnock, who is running against a very popular former football player who objectively, and I hate to even say it this way, has very few to no qualifications to serve as a U.S. Senator, and yet they are running neck and neck, and that's Herschel Walker, neck and neck. That's an amazing commentary on a race that should never be that way. You've got Stacey Abrams, who has a real shot at becoming governor in Georgia, but yet she's running neck and neck. And so we've got to vote now more than ever. And forget about all these other things that are happening. The right to vote is at stake, and we have to forge ahead and make sure we register unprecedented numbers of voters, because that's going to make a difference.
Everybody, we want you to call us at 1-866-594-HOPE, 1-866-594-4673. As Reverend Jackson has often said, just blink your eyes and everything can change in politics. What is true in the morning might not be true about 5 minutes later. And that's what we saw this week. And yet, interestingly, as difficult a week as former President Donald Trump has had, it seems that he is stronger than ever. And so Democrats are finding themselves in the position of having to fight to claim the narrative and to talk about their wins. So we've got a lot of work to do, and we still need to get people registered to vote. You have got hundreds of thousands of young people who came out of high school. Is anyone trying to register them to vote? We do know that Republicans are setting up community centers in Black and brown communities as they perform outreach to the Black and brown communities. And guess what, everybody? Incrementally, it's working. So what do we do? What do we do in this time? Democrats are woefully underrepresented, as David Daley has shown us, in both houses of Congress and at the state level. I mean, there's a massive disconnect between those who hold office and what the people want. So we want you to call us at 1-866-594-HOPE, 1-866-594-4673. Let's talk about it. Are you registered to vote? Go to vote.org and check it out. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a minute.
Your opinion counts. 1-866.
Yeah, because Reverend, you sound awful where he is. Does he know that?
Reverend, Reverend? No, I got it.
He's not there?
Yeah. Reverend, we can barely hear you, sir.
I'll tell you what, make an adjustment, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Keep up alive.
Yes, good morning. I wanted to talk about what's going on today voting for the Democrats when they haven't done nothing for us, really.
All right, what's your name?
My name is Philip Sharp.
Oh, thank you, Philip. How you doing?
Can't hear you.
Oh, you can't hear me? Okay.
And where you calling from?
And
Philip?
Pennsylvania.
I'm doing good, Santina. How you doing today?
It's great hearing your voice, sweetie.
Yes.
All right, hold on, Philip.
Okay.
Okay, honey, because we're coming out of the break.
All right.
Okay. How much time do we have?
A minute.
Great. Thank you, God. All this maintenance and whatnot. My hair. This is like a whole.
So, are politicians afraid of Donald Trump? That's why they won't listen.
What you say?
Are they afraid of Donald Trump?
It's not even Donald Trump as much as because Donald Trump is speaking to a lot of pain that these people refuse to address. At least that's my thought. Remember, the economy has collapsed, has been in a state of collapse for some time, and we act like it's not happening. People can't send their kids to school.
20 seconds.
And they cannot afford to eat. And this is crazy.
I'm gonna say with all the documentation that they found in his house, they haven't.
Well, who knows what they found? Because you can reclassify things in a hot second.
That's 1-866-594-4673.
We don't know what they found. Nobody does. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I am Santita Jackson. It is a joy to be with you today as we're talking about voting in the midst of all of this. Wow, how much tumult is out there with this, the week that was. I think we'll always remember this week, CK, because wow, what a week it's been, and it just continues to resonate. So everybody call Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson at 1-866-594-HOPE, 1-866-594-4673. Reverend, before we talk to Attorney Daryl Jones, chairman of the Transformative Justice Coalition, about voting, as we've listened to Attorney C.K. Hoffler describe what's happening in Georgia. Indeed, all eyes are on Georgia in 2022. We want to see what's going to happen with Stacey Abrams. We want to see what's going to happen with Raphael Warnock. And the fact that Raphael Warnock and Herschel Walker are neck and neck is just stunning, Reverend. I don't think this is what we meant, what you meant when you were fighting for equality, but here we are.
But Martin Luther King and Sam Summerson, you have Herschel Walker. There's another passing. Never shooting up.
Reverend, the adjustment that you made is not working. We need you on the other phone. So Jeremy, call him on the other phone, and we will bring Reverend up because we are hearing you intermittently, and we really want to hear you today. And we're sending much love to April Williams because April, you say you need prayer today. We are praying for you, sending you much, 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 much love. Sending you much love. And we're also dedicating the show to our aunt, Evelyn Jackson Hurst, who made her transition last week. We will be celebrating her homegoing next on Saturday. Sending much love to our cousins, Lisa, Reggie, and Najma, and our Uncle Chris, and Aunt Ella, and Aunt Liz, and the Stanley family. Sending them much, much, much love today. Our beloved Aunt Evelyn has made her transition. She is now an angel, as she was on earth. Let me go to you, Attorney Daryl Jones. what a week it has been. But then when you listen to, when you look at what's happening in Georgia, these races that are neck and neck, it's stunning. And when we look at the pushback against the vote, and you see the impact, as David Daley has shown us, the underrepresentation. I mean, the stunning underrepresentation of the people in both houses of Congress and in the state legislatures. Your thoughts, Daryl Jones?
Well, thank you, Santita. And as David Daley was speaking, I'm just sitting here and just thinking about the impact that is about to occur in the 2022 midterm elections. Because the big thing is that the vote really is on the ballot for this 2022 election, and I say that with the understanding that what we will be doing, what the country will be doing, and electing many in the state as well as federal representatives, will be determining whether or not the Congress will be able to push through voting rights that will protect and continue to protect each individual's right to vote. That's one of the things that failed in the Congress this last time through. So many of the things that David Daley laid out, it is just incredible. When we talk about the gerrymandering, right? When we're talking about voter suppression, and then you mix with that the election subversion, which is underway, which where on the state level you have general assemblies that are saying that they can replace the local election board's decisions regarding how to count the votes. When you start mixing all of this together, and you factor in that you're going to have we generally have a very low turnout of voters for the midterm election. And so when you factor in voter suppression, the diluting of the power of the vote through gerrymandering, the election subversion, knowing that and there are over 10,000 electors that are being trained or people that are being trained on how to go in and just subvert people that are staying in line to vote, to disrupt them, to try to stop them from voting, to challenge their votes. When you mix all of this together, you get a real toxic mixture to influence and determine these midterm elections. And again, this is a midterm election where we know that generally voter turnout is not as great. And so when you put all of those factors in, and you start suppressing the right to vote and disrupting people from having the opportunity to vote, it gives those individuals that are your subverters, if you will, a greater opportunity to progress and to win offices. Because if they're winning more offices on the state level, if they're winning more offices on the federal level, then what Robert Patillo and CK and everyone else has been saying, it takes a greater hold. The whole fight for abortion rights takes a greater hold because the ones that are going to be elected are going to be those that are the pro-life type candidates. But in addition to that, if we just look at what's at stake, the Supreme Court, in my mind, has laid out what's at stake in this election. They've laid out the marriage equality. They laid out transgender rights. They've laid out the abortion access. They've laid out, all of this is going to be there. You're going to have gun rights that's going to be at issue. So this election is incredibly important. And the most important thing right now is for people to get registered and to vote, to learn the issues, to know who's in place. But it doesn't just stop on that federal level, Santita. Folks, it becomes really important to be certain that you're electing judges and prosecutors and sheriffs that represent the interests of the community. So all of these steps that are being taken to make it more difficult for people to be able to vote and for their vote to be able to be substantive. And when I say substantive, I mean going into the gerrymandering where they take your vote, they move it to a place where you're a super minority voter instead of a majority voter. So when all of that is put into place, that's why we talk about the importance of people getting out there to vote, to be certain that the voices are heard and that the issues of concern are dealt with. That's the whole push that's going on right now, Santita, with regards to the Justice Coalition and Rainbow Push and the National Newspaper Publishers, where we're trying to get 10 million more Black voters to the poll because we know the impact that it can have. And the fight that has gone on historically to be certain that that vote is protected, it's now on our shoulders to continue to be certain that our vote is protected and that our interests are held.
Reverend Jackson, I think we have you now.
The stronger we are, the more we build alliance. Was the unit out of Georgia, and the chief were 3 white men were since the life since 10 years out, is that I'm so strong, not alliance. That's important. Second, it seems to me that when we know that shit is high school seniors, on the one hand, voting got the new base of very much of the vote. Is the same rest of your free city company, you can cut home debt in half. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But in college, if you're from Illinois, the rest of Georgia, you in school. So many of these colleges are represented by right-wing officials at the state level, where there's no sense of their power. Going out to high school, saying you at their colleges, they might go all along.
But Reverend Dr. Reverend makes a great point. However, because of gerrymandering, we're voting, but we're not getting the representation that reflects our numbers and our vote.
Well, good morning, Reverend Jackson. Good morning, and to all of the guests. I've been listening very closely, and the point very poignant and very significant. And I want to kind of lay it out just from the Reverend's point about new voting. So there are rules, there are qualifications, there are agendas, and then there's participation. So the rules determine how the game gets played now. We have to play the game according to the rules as they are now. The reason to Madam Chair's point about Herschel Walker's lack of qualifications is that the Constitution only lays out 3 qualifications to run for Senate: minimum 30 years of age, 9 years U.S. citizen, and a resident of the state where you are running. Has nothing to do with capacity of skills. That's for the voters to determine. That's determined at the ballot box. There's no other way to disqualify Herschel Walker than to make sure that we show up in big numbers to make sure that he does not become one of the 100. The senators who control who sits on federal courts, what happens with other important cabinet appointments, a lot of what happens with policy enforcement and oversight. When we look at the agenda, this is an election about agenda. We've talked about economics, and we've got the response to the pandemic. We've got the infrastructure. We've got the inflation reduction. Those are economics. When it comes to the substantive law, they're subject to a different set of rules. You can pass economic items on a straight majority vote. All other pieces of legislation require 60 votes to end debate and take it to the full vote. You can't change that rule if you don't have a majority. We have a problem in 2 senators on the Democratic side who have said they will not vote to change the filibuster. So you're not 50-50 on that issue. You're actually down 52 to 48. So participation matters. And where they typically look at polls are looked at from the perspective of likely voters. That's based on voting behavior. But to Reverend's point about new voters, there is no voting behavior to measure. They're never polled because they never show up on voter lists until the period after they've registered. They hold the key to saving the nation from itself. When we have federal judges forced to unravel, literally, to Attorney Robert Patillo's point earlier, the civil rights legislation, the constitutional rights to agency and free expression of one's body, all of those things matter. And you have state legislation state laws, the rules that say we can overrule local election officials who have been duly elected to do their job. And so if we're not careful, if we don't make sure that the numbers are significantly higher, that they overrepresent what we typically see through Attorney Darrell Jones' point of midterm elections, we leave ourselves in the precarious situation that state legislatures will determine on a plan what the agenda items will be and who gets to participate as it. That's why this election matters. If we want to change the rules, we've got to win according to the rules as they are. And we got to win big so that then we can put rules in place that will help us further the agenda that is still left under.
Reverend, let me bring on Philip, who's calling in this morning. Philip, how are you?
I was taking the call, so too. Good.
Of course. Now, Philip, you're in Pennsylvania, yes? Okay.
So I remember you from back in '84, seeing you doing politics, campaigning, and you had a Rainbow Kitchen in Homestead, PA, back in the day. So now we have something that we can vote for, and this is going with Reverend Jackson and everybody who fought back in the '60s on through. We can win the South. From Kentucky, North Carolina, South Carolina, Georgia, Florida, Alabama, Louisiana. As the gentleman just said, if we get all new voters and tell them, look, we can win the South and we can make real change. Because senators get 6 years, not 2 like U.S. representatives. They get 6 years. That means you're taking out Tim Scott, you're taking out Rubio, you're taking out Rand Paul, and anybody else. If we can get all 7 of those Senate candidates elected, no matter what happens in Pennsylvania, Ohio, and Wisconsin, that will be the cherry on the top. But we can win the South, then we'll have Black voices that can really take over the Senate, because they'll have a true block of saying, if you don't do what we want, won't nothing get through. And we can't let the work of your Reverend Jackson them go in vain. This is our best and only opportunity to do this.
So do you plan to help people to get registered to vote? How are people feeling in your community, Philip? Are they enthusiastic?
I'm out here, I'm talking to people, I'm talking to my family members in Alabama also. But this is I understand what you're saying, but this is also all hands on deck. Mm-hmm. I mean, the establishment is not pushing for North Carolina. They're not pushing to get Rand Paul out. They're not pushing to get Senator Scott out. They're not pushing to get Rubio out. I mean, I'm pleading for everybody who has a voice to get that we can take the South. Like I say, hope is things. Faith is things hoped for, and evidence of not seen.
Okay, I hear you. Well, we've heard from Philip from Pennsylvania. He's doing the best that he can. There is still some sentiment out here, Reverend Jackson, where I've got about a minute before we go to break, where people are saying that, we're going to have to get Reverend Jackson back. Well, people are saying that, the Democrats didn't deliver on this, that, and the other. Why should we even be bothered? David Daly, your thoughts in 1 minute.
My thoughts in 1 minute.
Yes. Okay, I'll give you 90 seconds.
Gosh, I think the caller's absolutely right. There are a number of really important states in the South. This year, there are a number of tremendous Black candidates. And Democrats might have their greatest opportunity U.S. Senate. There are races that the polls right now show that they're ahead in Pennsylvania, in Ohio, that if they're able to hold on to the Senate, that will be really, really important for the next several years, especially if there are enough Democratic senators to undo the filibuster rule that has so constrained Democrats and made it impossible to get action on voting rights and so many other things over the course of this current Senate. A number of the Democratic senators right now recognizing just how anti-majoritarian the Senate has become, have promised that if the Democrats do get to 52 votes in the Senate, that they will undo the filibuster, and that would be a great start moving forward.
Well, we're going to have to see what's going to happen. Will Democrats go out and vote in great numbers? Well, as you pointed out, in Kansas, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, typically about 450,000 people turn out for their midterms. More than 900,000 turned out this time. So if the electorate is this inspired, we could see some change come November 2022 and beyond. If not, we'll see some other changes that won't please the majority of American people. American people really do vote more progressively than the government, than the number of Democrats and Republicans really reflects. It just doesn't reflect where we are as a people. So let's talk about that. Are you registered to vote? Please go to vote.org, vote.org, and find out if you've been purged from the rolls. You need to find out if you've been purged from the rolls. You need to get registered to vote. You need to get your children registered to vote. You need to go to your clubs, every place you can, and make sure people are registered to vote, and then get them to vote in November. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a few minutes.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here
Keep Hope
on
Alive.
Keep Hope Alive.
Hello? It's a call. Wow, what's...
Keep Hope Alive.
We just can't see anything this morning. Huh?
Keep Hope Alive.
Be right back.
Anthony?
Yes, sir.
All right, where you calling from, Anthony?
Indiana.
And what's your comment?
I want to ask Reverend Jackson, what's his position on the legalization of cannabis with the licensing being overlooked in the city of Chicago? A lot of people are complaining about Governor Pritzker not allowing the African American community into the license, and I want to know what is Reverend Jackson's position. I remember he had the campaign Down with Dope, Up with Hope, and since then things have changed. So what's his current position on medical marijuana?
Okay, hold on. Keep Up Alive. Hello? Keep Up. Yes, what's your name? Hello?
Do we have 2 minutes?
Yes, you have 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
I tried calling Reverend back, but
See what's going on here. Because his phone. I don't know what they did.
I don't know. They might just be in the area where.
Well, they're in New York, but they in the hotel where they are. I
Right,
think
the hotel might just be.
hotel's not great. That particular one.
Can we just call the hotel number?
Yeah, I'm trying to see. Let me call Shelley. I'm feeling you, Latino Voice Matters. I love it. Rise and shine. Hi, sweetie. Are you doing well? Are you with Reverend now? Okay. Hmm.
So you'll have about a little over 2 minutes when we come back.
Doing great, honey. Are you with Reverend? Okay, we're trying to reach him. We're trying to for his radio show. Okay. Okay. We don't have that with we can get him for the next one. Okay, that would be great. Okay, bye.
15 seconds.
Anthony King.
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive. We want to hear from you. Please email your questions or comments.
Find out Anthony when we get back.
At keephopealiveradio.com.
3, 2, 1.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Stay tuned for the second hour as we talk about the vote. The week that was in politics. Democrats up, Republicans down, but Republicans are up even if it's upside down. There's a lot going on. And we need to talk about it. We need you to get registered to vote. We need to make sure that you are still registered to vote. Go to vote.org. Vote.org. So that you can find out. It takes not even 5 minutes to find out if you've been registered, if you're still registered to vote. Get your children registered to vote. This is, if you do not think your vote matters, look at what's happening in Georgia. Herschel Walker and Senator Raphael Warnock are in a dead heat. Every single vote matters. Stacey Abrams is within a few votes of becoming governor. Every vote matters. Everywhere you go. So please, please get registered to vote. Even as we look at the tumult of the past week, you see how much the vote matters. Liz Cheney, as prominently she figures on the January 6th committee, she could lose her seat over the next few days. Every vote matters. You matter, everybody. Get out here and get voting. Remember, even when you don't vote, especially when you don't vote, that's a vote. Votes have consequences. So think about it. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive in just a few minutes.
For listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
Thank you, hon. What's going on over here?
I can't get it up.
I mean, well, clearly, it's not you. This thing is, there's no connection. Oh. David Daly. Did David Daly have to go?
No, he's still there.
David? Are you going to have to leave now? Okay, well then, you know what? I'll give you the opening remarks at the top of the hour in about 45 seconds, okay? Thank you so much.
Tina?
Yes.
I have a suggestion. If on the reference line, if you want, I can, I have a call-in. So you can call into the call-in, and then I can prompt the call-in.
Would that work?
And see if that makes a difference. I don't know. I think it may be worth a shot. I'm happy to do that.
Well, you know what? Please call Shelley.
Okay.
And,
all right. I'll call Shelley right now.
Thank you so much.
And let me start with contacting him on my line and see if that makes a difference. And if not, I'll do the call-in, which is...
That's fantastic. His phone is the problem. And I think the hotel that they're in.
Yeah.
Got it. What about Shelley?
Shelley sounded crystal clear.
Okay, but let me call Shelley and see, let me see what I can do.
Okay. Well,
I'll call
hold
right now.
on one
All right.
moment. Thank you.
We're on the winner and never let anybody say, boy, you can't make it. Cause some people minds in your way. No more tears do we cry. And we have finally dried our eyes. And we're moving on up. Moving on up.
Oh, the great impressions on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson, dedicating our show to Sam Gooden, one of the founding members of the Impressions with Curtis Mayfield. And he made his transition at the age of 87, having given us that song, People Get Ready. Gypsy Woman, It's All Right. Woman Got Soul. Woman's Got Soul. I mean, there's so much. They sold millions and millions of records, lifting us up. It is possible, everybody. That is all that they did. And they really embodied the Chicago sound and took it all around the world and made us proud, made us proud, made us proud. Their breakthrough hit, of course, was For Your Precious Love. We love the Impressions and Curtis Mayfield and Fred Cash. Sending you much love today. Thank you for this tremendous legacy of music. Indeed, they framed our civil rights movement. They just framed our lives. We thank God for the Impressions and thank God for Sam Gooden today. I'm Santita Jackson, coming to you from Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. We're going to bring him right back as we talk about the midterms, as we talk about the vote, as we talk about this crazy, crazy week that was. At the beginning of the week, President Biden finally turned a corner and regained the narrative. Even though he's been struggling in the polls, he was winning big legislative, having great legislative wins. This economic agenda, this final piece of his economic agenda, it's been whittled down, but it's something. $740 billion, biggest climate change deal we've ever passed in America's history. Prescription drug deal, once thought dead. It's something. It's something for the Democrats to, as they go on vacation, on their summer recess. It's something for them to campaign on. Gas prices have dipped below $4 a gallon, although they do need to deal with these gas companies who have arbitrarily raised the prices for no reason at all other than to make profits. That's something that needs to be dealt with. But the economy did add 528,000 jobs, but the jobs clearly are not paying enough. But it's something, everybody. In the meantime, former President Trump had a tough week. His principal residence was raided by the FBI for potential violations of the Espionage Act. What does that mean? We still don't know, because Chelsea Manning, remember, and Julian Assange and others, other progressives and whistleblowers have been charged under the Espionage Act as well. We don't know. There's a lot we don't know, but we do know this. More and more of President Trump's supporters and people who wanted him out of the way, they want him to announce his run for the presidency for 2024 right now. Wow. So you tell me what you think is going to happen here. Who's more ginned up about 2022, the Republicans or the Democrats? Call us at 77, about to give you another number. Jeremy, this is what happens when you're on the air every day. 866-594-HOPE, 866-594-4673. But before he goes, let's hear from Jerry. Let us hear from David Daley, the author of the New York Times best-selling book. Yes. Okay, well, David Daley is about to leave, and thank you so much, Attorney C.K. Hoffler, because we needed to get him on a clear line. But David Daley is about to leave us, New York Times best-selling author, Rat Eft, and his latest book is Unrigged. And of course, he is a senior fellow at Fair Vote. David Daley, lay out the numbers for us before you go.
Really, what is so crucial about this election is the fact that we are on the verge of what I think to be a really dangerous and entrenched moment of Republican minority rule, in which they hold pretty much every institution in American politics, even if they win fewer votes. And this is why registering and turnout is so crucial and so important, especially in a handful of our most competitive states. And it's no accident that so many of these most competitive states have been subject to the most serious laws trying to stop you from getting to the ballot box. So in Georgia, in many places, we are going to have to work that much harder. But the numbers really are stark. You know, I mean, if you look at the presidential level, if you look at the fact that over the last 20 years, twice Republicans have managed to win the Electoral College while losing the popular vote. And if you look at how close it was to happening again in 2020, even when Joe Biden wins the national vote by about 7 million, he only wins the Electoral College by fewer than 70,000 votes in three key close states of Georgia, Arizona, and Wisconsin, and then the single electoral vote in the state of Nebraska around Omaha, which awards itself separately to the popular vote there. It is a tied electoral college that goes to the House, and it doesn't go to the House based on members. It goes based on delegations, and Republicans control more House delegations than Democrats. So, you know, it's the Electoral College, it's presidents who are appointing justices on the U.S. Supreme Court, robed ideologues with a lifetime appointment, 5 of them now appointed by Republican presidents that have lost the popular vote, confirmed by a U.S. Senate that only for 2 years out of the last 25 has the U.S. Senate actually been, when Republicans have controlled the U.S. Senate, if you go back to the mid-1990s, they have only controlled the Senate with the popular vote for the U.S. Senate for 2 of those years. The current Senate of 50 Democrats and 50 Republicans, it's 41.5 million more people represented by those Democratic senators. You can see the same influence of gerrymandering in the U.S. House and in our state legislatures. All of this comes together on policy in so many states right now. For example, in his decision in the Dobbs case on abortion rights, Justice Alito says, "I'm not overturning Roe versus Wade. I'm simply sending this issue back to the states and the people and their elected representatives." Well, what he knows full well is that this court has so robbed people of a voice in their state by okaying radical partisan gerrymandering that in Ohio, in Wisconsin, in Oklahoma, red states, purple states, the bluish states, it doesn't matter. These rights are being constrained by intense minority rule.
Reverend Jackson, we're going to get some reaction from you when we get back on the other side. Reverend, well, just what do you think about that, Reverend?
One foot in things that they are, and another foot in things they ought to be. For example, the Electoral College has long since passed its rules. One person, one vote is not represented for 2 billion for Democrats voting, not represented in the U.S. Senate. Is the corrupt Supreme Court would be on a revolving basis, for example. I think we got to now focus on democratizing democracy in a big way. We want to register and vote fiercely.
Okay, everybody, let's talk about it. Let's talk about it on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. David Daly points out for us that we are living under a minoritarian system, in which the minorities are ruling, not people of color, not the majority of the nation, the emerging majority, but a small group. You know, remember, President Biden got more than 81 million votes. President Trump, 74 to 75 million, and yet he almost became president again. How does that work? And we're going to hear from you, Anthony King, I think it is. Anthony, you are calling in, and Fred has called in. So glad. And Attorney Darrell Jones. Of course, David Daly, we're always so glad to have you. Thank you for being with us today. John Nichols is joining us from the nation. They had an exciting race up in Wisconsin this week. We cannot wait to get his thoughts, Reverend Dr. Todd Geary, who's pastoring. You know he's got to go preach today. Attorney Robert Patillo, who is pivoting from our show to his own show on WAOK today from 1 to 4. And of course, Attorney C.K. Hoffler has her own show on WAOK at 11 o'clock every Wednesday a.m. And of course, Attorney Barbara Arnwine and Attorney Darrell Jones are on WOL midday, 12 noon Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. So we've got a lot of radio hosts here today. A lot of people can tell us a lot of things about the vote. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Please support Rainbow Push. We need your support. Go to rainbowpush.org. Anthony and Philip and everybody. Carol, please take out a membership and please support us as we seek to support you. Back with more of Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a few minutes.
And let that blessed day has come, and I don't care where you come from. We're just gonna move on up. Move on up. Lord have mercy, we're moving on up. Moving on up. Woo, we just keep on pushing. We're a winner. Lord, baby, everybody.
Your opinion counts. 1-866-59.
Okay, Reverend.
That's
Okay, I need everyone to be mindful of the fact that, okay, Reverend, I need everyone to be you and everyone to be mindful of the fact that we can hear everything that happens in the background. Everything.
Okay.
Okay? No, just, okay, just be mindful of that. Okay, but we're on Facebook Live now.
It's important that we know the book on what is. Also, where are we going? We're going to Supreme Court. It's not permanently locked in. We're going to electoral college. It must be reviewed carefully. It's not against people. We're going to citizenship, right to vote. But we must, everybody who's a citizen should be registered around here on this census. Register everybody to vote. We cannot afford to register unregistered people in such great numbers. Not so much money is a poll tax. You need some brilliant lawyer like Darrell, so Rob in that case, in the corrupt Supreme Court, in that case, of argument public.
Reverend, we've been joined by Attorney Barbara Arnwine and John Nichols, of course, from the nation, who's going to tell us about this exciting race that they had up in Wisconsin. I mean, we're not going to limit you to that, John, but since you are on the ground there, that's a big deal.
To talk about Wisconsin.
I know you are. Oh, we know, but we need to. What is it looking like for Mandela Barnes?
I think it's looking very good, to be honest. In the primary, he had 7 opponents. 3 had withdrawn and endorsed him, but 4 others were still actively campaigning. And Mandela Barnes got 78% of the vote.
Oh, wow.
And in some rural counties out in western Wisconsin, he was getting 82, 83% of the vote. So he actually, amazingly enough, he ran his best in urban areas like Milwaukee, Madison, and in very rural areas. So you have a little bit of the Rainbow Coalition coming there. Because ethnic nationalism will not win in today's world. Black nationalism, white nationalism, because it must be rainbow to win. Well, there's some evidence that he's really putting that together. And look, it's going to be a hard campaign in Wisconsin. There's no question defeating a Republican incumbent, Ron Johnson, will not be easy. But I think that Mandela Barnes came out of the primary very, very strong. And to his credit, he is campaigning hard. He didn't stop and go on a vacation or something like that. His ads are on TV. He is moving around the state in a very active way. And I think that Democrats are recognizing that they've nominated a dynamic young candidate who has experience, energy, and ideas, and is ready to go into a November race
Well, you know, his parents are remarkable people, and they are. His father was a very active United Auto Workers member. His grandfather was a steel worker. His mom was active in the teachers union, and when they named him Mandela, they knew exactly what they were doing.
Hmm.
So,
Come on.
those are powerful names. Yeah, so that's all it was.
Thank you, CK, for bringing Reverend up. Stand by. We're coming up, everyone. Reverend, do you want to pivot to John Nichols first?
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend
Then Barbara
Jesse
Arnwine.
Jackson.
Stand by.
866-594-HOPE.
Stand by, Reverend. Stand by.
4673.
I want more moving on up. We're a winner.
Amen. Amen. Amen.
Amen. It's hard to believe, Reverend. You all are definitely from a different era. I mean, that was a hit record more than 50 years ago. It's unbelievable with all of this. Oh my gosh. I mean, today you have all of this. Well, just it's bizarre. Satanism is laced through the music. It's terrible. But you saw this. You foresaw this. You foresaw this more than 40 years ago. So keep hope alive. Yes. Yes, Reverend.
The national icon, whose name has been adopted, has been very well in Wisconsin. On our phone today is John Nichols.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about it.
Talking about Mandela Barnes? Well, Reverend, you're right. As you know, and have known for a very long time, I'm a proud native Wisconsinite. And Wisconsin had its Democratic primary on Tuesday for the United States Senate, a very important race. And the voters gave 78% of the vote. 4 out of every 5 votes went to a young man named Mandela Barnes. And Mandela Barnes, the Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, former state representative, is indeed named for Nelson Mandela. And his parents were activists. His father, a UAW member, his grandfather, a steelworker, active union people both. His mother, very active in the teachers union in Milwaukee. They named their son after the iconic anti-apartheid leader, Nelson Mandela, would go on to become the first Black leader of South Africa. And Mandela Barnes, is obviously very proud of that name, very proud of that legacy in his own family of activism. And now he carries that into the November race in Wisconsin. And yes, I think it is quite remarkable that the name of Mandela, or Nelson Mandela, is a part of the United States Senate race in Wisconsin. And if the primary numbers suggest anything, could well be a part of the United States Senate.
You can't make this up.
John, it is significant that color is. So go play the color card. You got Herschel Walker, could be U.S. Senator, Clarence Thomas, and from Georgia as well. And so stacking the color with right-wing blacks is a very deceptive ploy to be a wrong direction, not just complexion.
Well, now, amen to that. Identity politics will take you but so far. We're seeing that because we just lost one of the most progressive members of Congress, John Nichols. And he was taken up by the right-wing Jewish lobby. And everything is on the table right now, John Nichols.
This is an incredible election year. There's simply no question. And I think that the most important thing is to recognize that, yeah, you'll have fights within the Democratic Party and the Republican Party. You'll have people coming from all sorts of different perspectives. But the key that we look at now, as these primaries get decided, is the November election. And in the November election, the critical test will, at least the national level, will be control of the U.S. Senate. If the U.S. Senate becomes Republican controlled under Mitch McConnell, it will be at the absolute roadblock to the Biden administration. It will seek at every turn to make Joe Biden and Kamala Harris lame ducks, to make them irrelevant, unable to govern. On the other hand, if it's a Democratic Senate, they will have the ability to confirm judges, perhaps even a new Supreme Court justice. They will have the ability to, if the House is Democratic, to move labor law reforms that help workers organize, to move sensible gun control legislation, to move a host of other measures that are necessary and vital in this time. So that November race becomes critical, and it's very notable that in the seats that are most likely to flip, the ones that are the most competitive, that's Pennsylvania and Wisconsin. Pennsylvania with John Fetterman, Wisconsin with Mandela Barnes. The Democratic nominees are progressives who proudly have built rainbow-style campaigns, campaigning in urban and rural areas, reaching out to Black, Latinx, white working class voters, and really delivering a message of a new rainbow that carries on what Reverend Jackson did in 1984 and 1988. And it may well be that rainbow that flips the Senate and makes the second half of the first term of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris a success.
Well, let us go to you, Attorney Barbara Arnwine. What a week it has been. And yet, it seems that Democrats and Republicans have found reason to hope. What about the vote? I mean, do we need any more protections for people to be able to vote, to get their voices heard in November?
Absolutely. I wanted to start off by thanking Reverend Jackson again for being a hero, because he was there with the Arbery family on Monday. He traveled to Brunswick, Georgia, and was there for that sentencing, so that we were able to put those 3 racist murderers, as I say, underneath the jail by getting them a second life sentence for the McMichaels, and for Bobby a 35-year additional sentence. So it doesn't matter if there's an appeal or any overturning at the state level, the federal charges now will prevail and keep them locked up for life for their murderous behavior, their racist murderous behavior. But I want to talk about Wisconsin also. First of all, Don, it was awesome to see that Wisconsin had the largest turnout in a midterm in 40 years, everybody. The largest turnout in 40 years. Of course, the Republican contest was really deep because it was that whole fight for, are we going to be, true conservatives or Trump conservatives? And it was, very, very true. A lot of people, but at the same time, the Democrats had a really powerful turnout also. That's powerful more than they had in the past. So he definitely, sits there. And I think it's fascinating, Reverend, that if you look at Georgia and you look at Wisconsin, you're seeing these record turnout numbers. And it tells us a lot about what to expect in November, when primary seasons usually are, very, very sleepy, especially during midterms. So it's fascinating.
Well, wait a minute. Barbara Arnwine, I want you to dig into that more deeply. I have a couple minutes before we go to break. What is this a harbinger of? I mean, because we saw in Kansas, they doubled their numbers. Generally, about 450,000 people turned out, 900,000 plus turned out. And you said you're seeing heightened, as Attorney C.K. Hoffler said in the previous hour, that there is a heightened, well, it seems that everybody's hyped up about voting. Or am I, what is this? Is there one group that's more excited than the other, or is everybody excited?
I think that there is a sense of the fact that our democracy is impaired. I thought it was really significant that this week you might have heard that a number of historians went and met with Joe Biden. Well, I think they actually met with him last week.
Yes.
And they told him about the danger that our democracy is in. They really spent time digging in and pressing upon him how incredibly close our democracy is to teetering. And I think the people feel that they feel that this country is on the verge of being taken over again by European forces that would drive gay people into closets, women to hangers, and death. They see this banning of free speech, that you can't teach our country's real history, that they see a backwards movement, and people are like, oh, hell to the no. We have to get out there. We got to vote, and it's up to us to save our democracy. And I think that's what we're seeing, a fundamental sense. And if that sense keeps rolling, if it becomes dominant theme for November, then this is possibly one of the best possible moments for this democracy. And all these stories about Trump and his quote return, that article that was in I believe it was Political, about his Axios, that's right, Axios also, about his planned return and all how he's doing his cabinet and all the rest of this. I think it scares people. People are like, oh, no. And then the Dobbs case, the Supreme Court, being ultra conservative, ultra corporatist, has also just inspired people to say, no, I got to step up. I got to use my vote, my individual vote, to fight for justice. And I think that's what we're seeing, is that people are like, oh, no, I'm just not going to be passive and sit back. I'm going to actively vote and insist on it. Now, let me be very clear, everybody. Something happened in Wisconsin that we got to look at, is that there were poll disruptors who showed up from the conservative camps, and that Steve Bannon, Cleveland Mitchell, RNC crew trying to disrupt voters, trying to disrupt the poll operations on Tuesday. So they did run a model disruption plan. So we have to be very conscious of that and be that's one of the dangers that we're going to face in November, and we better be ready for it.
Amen. And what's past is prologue. Thank you for bringing up the fact that this esteemed group of historians did meet with President Biden, and he also talked with President Bill Clinton, and they told him, we've not seen an American citizenry this divided, this electrified, since just before leading into the Civil War. In the years leading up to the Civil War, 1859, 1860, they said, look, this is serious, and it is. It really, really is. We don't have we don't share a worldview anymore. And I don't know if we ever really did, but Reverend, but I think that we're moving toward a more perfect union. We never had a perfect one. We're moving toward a more perfect union. And as you used to tell me when I was growing up, growth is painful. Back in just a minute.
Your opinion counts. 1-866-594-HOPE. That's 1-866.
Reverend?
Yes.
Okay. Someone might be outside. We can hear some birds. But also, I want to, before Reverend Yuri has to go, I want to get a minute from him. I want to get Daryl Jones, but we have a couple of callers, Fred from LA and Anthony King from Indiana.
Okay.
Do you want to go right to the callers when we get back on the other side, Reverend?
I want to see a little something better every year.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Okay. It is freezing in here, Jeremy. Not like you can do anything about it. This is terrible. Oh. It's not like it's hot outside either. This weather is bizarre for Chicago at this time of year. You know, it's so cool. You know, weather's crazy. Well, you know, we're on Facebook Live, everybody. You know, y'all can say something. What about these vote disruptors? John and Barbara.
Well,
Yes, Reverend. I'm
sure.
sorry.
It's an ongoing.
John.
Sure. It's an ongoing challenge in Wisconsin. There is simply no question that the Republicans have targeted Wisconsin. They have fought for the last 2 years to overturn the 2020 election results in the state. In fact, they've nominated a candidate for governor who says that he plans to restructure the state elections systems, put more Republicans in charge of things. And so it's not surprising that you're going to see threats and even interruptions and that. But I do want to emphasize something that's important. Wisconsin did have a very large primary turnout. And the primary turnout on the Democratic side had some numbers that really are worth noting.
Hold on. I want you to give us that when we come right back up. Reverend, we're coming up right now. We're coming up right now. We can go right into this with John. Okay, you can bring him on, okay?
That's 1-866-594-4673.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. I hope you're tuning in to us on YouTube on the Santita Jackson Show channel and on the Reverend Jesse Jackson Senior Facebook page and the Santita Jackson and Friends page. If you're not, you're missing a lot of wonderful conversations that happen during the breaks. Anthony King and Fred from LA, I promise you we're going to get to you. But Reverend Jackson, you and John Nichols were talking about this Wisconsin race. Reverend Jackson?
I want people to join the Rainbow Push Coalition as we fight against violence and against hate and for inclusion. I want to thank John Nichols for his work in Wisconsin. Tremendous turnout in Kansas showed out on the women's right to determination, and as well as Wisconsin. John tells us about Wisconsin.
Well, I appreciate that, Reverend. And in Wisconsin, the turnout in the Republican primaries was very high. That's an indication that Wisconsin will continue to be the battleground state in the country. The last 6 presidential elections in Wisconsin, 4 of them were decided by under 25,000 votes. I can emphasize that. 4 of the last 6 presidential elections decided by under 25,000 votes. The turnout in November and the fairness and the freedom of that election becomes. And I wanted to emphasize that in nominating Mandela Barnes, the lieutenant governor of Wisconsin, for the U.S. Senate, Democrats have nominated somebody who came up as a community organizer, as a voting rights organizer in Milwaukee, who went to the legislature and was a leading advocate for the defense of voting rights there, and who in 4 years as governor has traveled the state, including the rural areas, to say that everyone has a right to vote and to make sure that that right is protected. And so we're going into this November election with a unique figure running on the Democratic side, somebody who has a record, Barbara Arnwine, you'll appreciate this, as a voting rights activist, a record as somebody who recognizes these threats and is not going to let them pass. And so this becomes, in Wisconsin, one of the critical tests. Can we not just elect to the U.S. Senate a Democratic candidate? Is it possible to elect someone who, like Reverend Raphael Warnock down in a record of fighting for voting rights? Because the fact of the matter is, our United States Senate, our United States Congress needs more voting rights activists because those threats that Barbara describes are in fact real.
Let me go to Fred from LA. Fred, what's on your mind?
To you on your regular, your daily show, your morning drive Wednesday, and you said two things that Republicans. I couldn't name two things. You didn't say me. You couldn't name two things that Republicans could do, and I was thinking the same
No,
thing.
I don't think I said that. That's not the kind of language I use, Fred. No.
Well, I'm going to say I was thinking that I was going to ask you guys to name me two things that Democrats have done for Black America.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. Let's bring him back up. So, okay.
Oh, you there?
Yeah. I just wanted
Okay,
to...
yeah. In 2020, gasoline was $2.84 a gallon, and America had energy independence. And I know everybody got a piece of that, but Black America benefited. And then every time I see gasoline prices on TV in Chicago on the news, it parallels Los Angeles, about $6.35 a gallon. And
higher.
You might have somebody at $5 a gallon from Independence. In 1972, August 1972, Santita, I opened up my Shell service station, and I'm going to be calling you and giving you some insights on the workings of the gasoline, of the oil industry. You stated a few minutes ago, price gouging. No, the gasoline companies, Shell, at least Shell Oil didn't do that. You drove 18.25% on a gallon of super. That's what you did then. Today, a gallon, a tank wagon, they called it the full load, 8,750 gallons. They called it the tank wagon price. It's COD, it's $50,000. And you can divide that out by what it costs for the dealer and then what you're buying it at.
Well,
Okay.
you know what? There's a congressional report, Fred, that progressives and other people who really do care about what people are paying, it has come out that corporate profiteering has been driving inflation. And we see it especially in the gas industry because they just raised prices arbitrarily. Now, the reason I had to correct you about what I would have said on my radio show is because I do not take a hardline stance. I want to save the people, not necessarily a party. So you're not going to hear me spending a lot of time on Republicans. As I am someone who opposes corporatists, whether they're Democratic or Republican. Okay? So that is something that I would not say. That's just not part of my languaging. But let me let everyone respond to what is your main point, Fred?
Okay, the last one is the tax cut. Republicans did do something for Black. Another thing, the 2017 tax cut, you make $45,000 a year less, or $57,000 with two children. We all know Black people make less than Caucasian people because of history. You're going to either zero out on income tax, and in some states, if there's no income tax, you're going to see 90% of your paycheck. If that's not doing a lot for lower income people, I don't know what is. You guys want to respond?
You respond to what? What is your point? No, which is, just make it succinct. What is it so somebody can respond to it, Fred?
We're better off under the Trump administration than we are under the Biden administration, especially if you have lower income.
Okay. Anyone want to respond? Thank you so much, Fred. Thank you.
Part of what the leader does is set the climate. The very hostile, violent climate has been set by Trump all over through our government. And deep, even just in January 6th, is also the FBI and the Secret Service and Congress people and the Supreme Court all over through our government, period.
Well, Reverend, let me ask you this. Do you think that he's more of a symptom, I think, than the cause? Abraham Bolden has been trying for 60 years to expose the politicization of Secret Service that he felt would lead to the death of John Kennedy. No one listened to him. His reputation was destroyed. He just got pardoned 60 years later, right? So what we see happening with the Secret Service right now, is not new. No one would listen to this man. No one even wants to discuss those aspects of Abraham Bolden's story today.
Sure, sent you the book in the larger scheme of things. They've done their work. And this sounds like the resurrect way. Second, I want to say this thing to you,
Mm-hmm.
that in the scheme of things, the health care bill that President Barack Obama proposed, you can get the support the Biden's not getting.
Mm-hmm.
They had this huge turnout for the inauguration, largest ever. It was meeting over at the hotel in Washington, planning how to destroy his legislation. Except the health care bill, they did do it. So he was somewhat neutralized by the right wing of our country.
Sure, sure.
Bobby, you better say something about the online.
Yes, Reverend, I was going to say that one thing that the Biden administration has done well is that they have revised the Civil Rights Division of the Justice Department. When we were there Monday for the Arbery case, there's no doubt about it that that did not and would not have happened under any Trump administration, DOJ, Civil Rights Division. I think what happened the week before with the bringing of the charges against the 4 officers in Louisville for the murder of Breonna Taylor, that would not have happened. That the lawsuits that they have filed against Arizona, Texas, Georgia for racial discrimination in voting, none of that would have happened. So I want to, just really lift up, the work that's being done by that Civil Rights Division, how that does help Black people, by the way, Black people in Georgia, Black people in Louisville, Black people in Texas, Black people in Georgia, all people, Latino, Black, Native Americans in Arizona. Come on now. I just want people to really respect, the work that is being done, that would not have been done, that never was done, that was actually failed and reversed under the Trump administration. Let's get it straight. That when Kristen Clark said 2 weeks ago that they were going to launch a pattern or practice investigation of the Louisville police, that was a reversal from the Trump era where they dropped the pattern or practice investigations for racial discrimination against Blacks by police departments. They dropped 18 darn cases. Come on, folks. We got to get this straight. I don't like it when people get their facts wrong or just overlook whole patterns and trend lines. So that's something I just have to say right now.
It's important, and it's important that the Democrats begin to put that out, because that's been one of the complaints, that people are not hearing what the accomplishments are. They're not deploying Bernie Sanders. They're not deploying people, whatever his misgivings are about what's been able to be passed. There's no stronger voice in the party. Where is Elizabeth Warren? Where is Maxine Waters? These are the people you need to have out on the hustings. Barbara Lee, et cetera, to share Sheila Jackson Lee. I mean, we need to see the people. We need to see the squad out. We need to see them. Let me get Anthony King from Indiana. Reverend?
Put me on that list.
Okay. Anthony King from Indiana.
Greetings, beloved. How you doing today?
Good hearing your voice. What's on your mind?
I would like to ask a serious question that is very current in politics and our community, both the popular LGBTQ plus and the African American community with this Brittany Griner situation. I remember him campaigning very hard when I was a young man, down with dope, up with hope. But a lot has changed since then with the legalization of cannabis, better known as marijuana, in the state of Illinois, particularly in the city of Chicago, with the amount of complaints from the African American operators who would like to be licensed in cannabis and feel as though it has overlooked. What is his position on this new development in the legalization of cannabis, better known as marijuana, and will he support the licensing of the individuals
who are being looked over. A lot of them have paid their money and lost lotteries and now are experiencing this recession after trying to advance economically.
You mean these black cannabis entrepreneurs who are not getting the opportunity to open up their shops as white kids are out west? Is that what you're asking?
Not just out west, they are in big town, they are in the south suburbs, they are on north.
So I'm just trying to get right to it, Anthony. Reverend?
Children are going to jail because of cannabis. That's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And them are on the basis of cannabis. That's why Trump doesn't go to jail. That way he's turning all the jails into a museum. Close all of them. He got to go to jail. He got to go to jail. Stay for a long time to think about it.
Well, you know, Reverend, what about, because I mean, ultimately, this is about the decriminalization, right? You know, you don't have cannabis raids on college campuses, period. Right?
That's right. And I think that's a plus. Now, our fighting for the right to sell cannabis is right. I think EEOC, supporting EEOC is the way to deal with that. As Barbara suggests, there are players in place now. We're going to get our share. We can fight for affirmative action, fight for inclusion. So there's a framework for that.
Okay. Well, because there is a real fight. A lot of black entrepreneurs, would-be cannabis entrepreneurs, are saying that they're not getting the opportunity to open these stores themselves. So, you know, there's something to be said for that. Certainly, Reverend Jackson wants, as you just said, the decriminalization of marijuana. But it's very interesting. As they have decriminalized it here in Chicago, the one place, Reverend Jackson, they said that they will not allow it is on LaSalle Street, where business is conducted. Isn't that interesting? Please, we need you to be a part of the Rainbow Push Coalition. Why should people join the Rainbow, Reverend Dr. Todd Geary?
Because cannabis issues, pretextual issues that flow from the law still allowing police to search vehicles if they smell marijuana, burnt marijuana coming from a car. The issues that Fred kind of overlooks, he likes to do research, but he doesn't pay attention to the data sometimes. That the gas price at the end of the Trump administration was nearly identical to the gas price he inherited. The only difference was we had a pandemic and actually forced gas prices back down. You need somebody that's going to actually speak truth to power truthfully and from a position of power as we not only address moments, but we develop movements. And so Reverend Jackson is a movement maker, and we follow his lead in addressing these concerns, making sure that we're equipped with information on one hand and determination on the other, so that we can do more than keep hope alive. We can make sure that we take moments and turn them into real movements that are sustainable. Go to rainbowpush.org to get more information about what we do, to sign up and to link up to be part of the movement.
And throughout the week, we urge you to listen to some great radio. Attorney C.K. Hoffler is on WAOK at 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every Tuesday. We've got Attorney Barbara Arnwine and Attorney Daryl Jones. She streams her show on her website, barbaraarnwine.com, but she is also on WOL, which is our home station in Washington, D.C. at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time every Wednesday. And of course, Attorney Robert Patillo today will be on from 1 to 4 Eastern Standard Time on WAOK. And I hope that you'll meet me this week, every day of the week, Monday through Friday, on WCPT and AM 950 radio. WCPT was Air America. It is the largest progressive talk radio station in the country. And John Nichols is there every Tuesday at 7:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. And CK, Legal Q&A with CK, every Wednesday from 7 to 8 Central Standard Time. We're going to have some closing thoughts in just a few minutes. We hope that you will join rainbowpush.org, rainbowpush.org. We need your support. Help Push as Push seeks to help you. Rainbowpush.org, and we need you to volunteer. 773-FREEDOM. Reverend, I've got about 30 seconds. They belong to you.
The fact of the matter is, voting matters. We're not voting big numbers. One in Georgia. Big numbers. Joe Biden was lost to Trump. Setting up a corrupt machinery. He'd had 4 more years to put it together. God knows what 2026 would look like. If he had been 2028, would look like elected again. So our vote does matter. It does count. We have a comprehensive health care bill now. That direction that is approved by labor. The guys who killed Aubrey, this problem on our side in that case, they're now facing a lifetime that's 10 to 7 years beyond life. So even in the grave, they'll be prosecuted in the grave. So some things are happening. I'm slow to get pleased, politics. I submit to you that things are moving in the right direction.
Amen, amen, amen. Closing thoughts from the panel on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson in just a few minutes.
Coming up, we'll have closing thoughts from Reverend Jesse Jackson right here on Keep Hope Alive.
Okay, everyone, you can carry
this
this
is Joe
conversation
Cordell.
over right
Over the
now.
past
We're on Facebook Live. I know people want to hear you.
We're going to tell us something.
I'm sorry?
We're going to tell us something.
Jesus was an alpha.
Mm-hmm.
On mine.
I don't, I'm not a Greek, so I don't get into any of that. I plan to fight for racial justice. That's all I plan.
Amen. Although I am Greek.
He didn't like to get the truth, but you don't only tell him something he wants to. You don't want to give him.
So it's a lot going on. Reverend, you were a hero on Monday. Just thank you for what you do when you show up in that community and you give those people in Brunswick all that hope and all that sustenance. It was just beautiful to have you there. And the next day, Reverend, they had a wonderful turnout for the naming of the Albany Street 2 of the Ahmaud Arbery Honorary Way. Just beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And that community did not exist 2 years ago. You never would have seen all those whites, all those blacks, all those Latinos together. Just did not exist. I mean, we have, brought some kind of transformative change to Brunswick, and I hope that that continues, and that's where the work will always be.
The impact of our atmosphere on Saturday and Sunday. Impact. The same people who fought against having the right to attend school, that's for recruiting, trying to get the highest number they can pay them to play. So that's a big deal. And so people who watch those games can't say blacks and inferior, can't get quarterback, all these terms of our culture. So the things that are happening, I look at an all-white jury in Albany and Brunswick, Georgia. I had 4 children I first saw it. I also brought my side said something in the jury. And sure enough, they convicted 3 white men. And white females sentenced them to all these years of sin in prison. So
and look at those judges. And look at the judges, Reverend, stepping up.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody expected either one of these judges to be as strong and as very as eloquent as they've been around the issue of racial justice and how this killing has to be, that these people have to be held accountable. I mean, nobody expected any of these judges, neither one of them, to rise to the occasion like they have. I mean, that says a whole lot.
Well,
I said that should run everything. Now, Bill Thompson is a privileged position now. I'm sitting in Mississippi.
Yes, in
45% African American.
45%.
Stand by.
Night and day.
Stand by. How much time will we have when we get back?
Oh, yeah.
We'll have like 3 minutes.
Yeah, 3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay, John Nichols.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to give a minute to you. I'm going to give a minute to Barbara Arnwine, and then we are out.
All right.
Okay? I'm coming to you first, Barbara.
Okay.
Okay.
You're listening to Keep Hope Alive.
Stand by,
We'd love to
quiet,
hear from you.
please.
Please email your questions or comments to Reverend Jesse Jackson at keephopealiveradio.com.
Hey, everybody. Closing thoughts on Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. Hope that you'll join me on my show, The Santita Jackson Show, from 6 to 8 Central Standard Time on WCPT 820, the nation's largest progressive talk radio station, and AM 950 radio, and the Santita Jackson and Friends page, and the Santita Jackson Show YouTube channel. Barbara Arnwine on on WOL every Wednesday at 12 noon Eastern Standard Time, and of course streaming on barbaraarnwine.com. Your closing thoughts.
My mighty co-leader, Daryl Jones, just want people to know that there's an old song that says, people get ready, there's a train coming. Well, get ready, because October 9th, the National Newspapers Association, TJC, and the Rock Nation with Jay-Z, we are going to be launching a national tour for voters. We're going to be getting out to vote, because it's not only about getting new people registered, but we want to make sure that Black voters who are registered turn out. So we are having the 10 billion more Black voter campaign for 2022. Get ready, Minneapolis, we're coming. Get ready, Milwaukee, we're coming. Get ready, Chicago. Get ready, Detroit. Get ready all over the country. We're coming. We will be having a major event. So we look forward to seeing everybody in those communities. If you want to know more, go to votingrightsalliance.org. Sign up, volunteer, get involved. It's time for us to make sure that the nation knows it's our time.
John Nichols, I've got just under a minute for you.
Well, my dear friend and colleague, Barbara Arnwine, laid it out so very, very well there. There is a train coming, and people better be ready. So much of the work that Barbara's doing is vital. So much of the work that Rainbow is doing is vital. All of it is aiming toward that November midterm election. And the news from Wisconsin is good. Wisconsin is the pivotal battleground state in the country. Barbara will be coming to Milwaukee. I bet Reverend Jackson will be in the state as well. And that campaign of Mandela Barnes, Lieutenant Governor of Wisconsin, taking a progressive vision into the fall campaign against Senator Ron Johnson is going to be the pivotal one. If Mandela Barnes wins and goes to the United States Senate, it is very likely that United States Senate will have a strong enough Democratic majority to pass all of the legislation that got bottled up in the last Congress. And so we're looking at a transformational moment if people show up and vote that's how important it is. That's what the stakes are. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. And until next week, keep hope alive.
For listening to Keep Hope Alive with Reverend Jesse Jackson. For more information on upcoming shows and guests, please visit our website at www.keephopealiveradio.com.
Don't hang up, everybody. I want you to, if you can, give some closing thoughts to our audience here on Facebook and on YouTube. Closing thoughts from you, Attorney Daryl Jones. Of course, you and Barbara Arnwine will be on WOL and barbaraarnwine.com. Did Daryl leave already? I think he did. All right. Well, Reverend Dr. Yuri, your closing thoughts.
Well, the work is critically important. The opportunity is there. It may not be under the terms that we prefer, but we have to rise to the moment. And as Reverend has said, we've got to make sure that we follow through. We know that the stakes are high and the resistance in some places is even higher, as John has laid out. But we got to remember, we got to be registered, we got to be educated, we have to be mobilized, and we have to be persistent in this process. Otherwise, if we miss rising to this moment, the damage that will be done in the next 2 years in terms of policy outcomes and the spending of public dollars for personal interests
will create a harm that would literally take us the better part of a generation to overcome. So we cannot get so frustrated to the point where we sit down. Our frustration should cause us to rise up and rise to the occasion, because this moment really matters.
Attorney C.K. Hoffler.
Well, Santita, vote, 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 vote. That's what it is. Vote, vote, vote. I'm monolithic in my focus here in Georgia because Senator Raphael Warnock is fighting to the fight of his life, which is the irony of all ironies, because he has been one of the most stellar U.S. senators that we've seen in a long time. Stacey Abrams can become governor. We just have to believe and register to vote and fight voter suppression. And I think it can be done. Reverend Jackson, we've done it. Our back has been up against the wall before. So I'm optimistic it's not going to happen unless we register to vote. Because all the other things that happen in the country will take shape in the way that progressives and Democrats want if we turn out the vote. Because as the states gain control because of the U.S. Supreme Court over so many issues, if we elect people who are proponents of things that we believe in, that's another way of pushing the agenda. That's what the Republicans are doing. Make no mistake about it. So this is feasible, it's doable, but it starts and ends with voting.
John Nichols, what do you see coming in, going into November and going into 2024? I'm not making you Nostradamus, but...
Well, I'm really not Nostradamus. But I will tell you that you don't have to be Nostradamus to see what's coming. Donald Trump is perhaps one of the more dishonest figures ever in American politics, but he's honest about one thing, and that is his absolute ambition to return to the White House. He has made it completely clear that he wants to, A, take over the Republican Party and control it in every way. He's been very successful in that. His primary endorsements have by and large prevailed, and his candidates in states across the country, including Wisconsin, just on Tuesday, have won. And the same thing happened in Arizona and a lot of other states. And so he is going into this November election with Donald Trump, not on the ballot, but as someone who wants to elect Republican candidates in states across the country to governorships, Secretary of State jobs, wants to get them in control of the House and the Senate with one purpose, and that is to clear the ground, to open the way for Donald Trump to run in 2024. If he does succeed in getting the governors and the Congress he wants, and if he runs in 2024, and if by some chance is elected, or does, well, even if he isn't elected, if he takes that office, then they have made it absolutely clear they will restructure the federal government, starting with the Department of Justice, and their purpose will be to throw out honest, sincere civil servants who are doing the work of civil rights, voting rights, human rights, maintaining the rule of law, to throw them out and to replace them with Trump servants, with people who will do Donald Trump's political bidding. That will be a restructuring of the federal government as we have never seen in our lifetimes. And that's the threat. So that's what 2022 is about. If Trump's people win, we are looking for a world of hurt. On the other hand, if they are defeated in states like Georgia, and Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania, and across this country, if they are defeated, then we pivot into an era when we really can begin to focus not on the absurd demands of Donald Trump and the people around him, but on the need for economic and social and racial justice, for sustainability for the planet, and for a foreign policy focused on peace and diplomacy. That's possible, but that will only happen if the November election results are a rebuke of Donald Trump and an embrace of the progressive vision that Reverend Jackson has been talking about for all these years.
Attorney Robert Patillo, respond to what you've heard today, and what are you going to be talking about this afternoon on WAOK at 1 o'clock Eastern Standard Time?
Absolutely. Thank you so much. This afternoon, we're going to be tackling two divergent topics. One, we're going to do a deep dive into the Espionage Act, what it is, what it isn't, and if there will be any long-lasting impact to it, or if it'll just over the past 6 months or so. The fall of the Sri Lankan government, the fall of the Israeli government, the fall of the British government, the fall of the Italian government, and now the Pakistani government. And we want to put that in the context of what's going on internationally. The point that I think we need to look at and take away from today's show is that in America, even when you have a former president like Trump, who had to take a deposition because of his tax case in New York, who had to hire an attorney here in Georgia for his election interference case here in Georgia, who had his home raided by the FBI in Florida a week after hosting a golf tournament sponsored by the Saudi Arabian government, and we're supposed to pretend that we don't notice those things happening. Despite all of that, about 40% of the country is still 100% in lockstep with him. And we have to understand what that means for our democracy, what that means for the nation going forward. That despite a president where literally every indication is that he's the most corrupt president in American history, there's a good chunk of America where you can simply just say that that's a conspiracy, that's the deep state, that's the Clintons, that's some cabal of shadowy figures, and they will believe it. What does that mean for our political discourse, where we no longer live in the same form of objective reality and are fighting against not just the political issues that exist, but every conspiracy theory that is circulated on the internet? We have to find a way to create conversations that exist in reality, because there are bigger issues happening in the world, and we cannot continue to have political division based on fantasy, when in reality the doors closing in around us are far more serious than we think.
Attorney Barbara Arnwine, your closing thoughts?
Yes, amen to John, amen to Todd, amen to Robert. Yeah, absolutely. I agree with what they said 100%. I want to also remind everyone that this radio show is so important because Reverend Jackson is a compelling figure. He is a compelling symbol of our fight for justice, and he is a fighter. When you look at what he's been doing the last week, and I just want to say that when he came to Milwaukee for our fish fry blues playing cookout, he was magnificent, and people heard him. They listened to him in Georgia. They listened to him everywhere he goes, and I just want to say that when I was talking about that train coming, we know who's the conductor of the train. We know who will be there. And I just, really want to give Reverend Jackson all the credit for all of his hard work, for all of his miraculous the inspiration that he does to so many around the country, because we're going to need that inspiration. We're going to need that commitment. We're going to need people to step up like they've never done before, because as all three of my prior people have just said, our democracy is under attack, it's under threat, and we cannot afford a world in which these forces of Trumpism prevail again. So it's imperative that people get out there, not only register, but vote. Remember that only 30% of people who register actually vote the first time. And it is imperative that people, that we know that in Florida, as close as those elections have been, that 40% of Black people have not been voting who are registered. So come on, folks. We got a lot of work to do, and we're going to do it because we are the future. It is our time. Thank you.
Well, Reverend Jackson said 4 years ago, there's a freedom train coming, but you got to be registered to ride. You got to be registered to ride, everybody.
There we go.
So come on, everybody. Look, but you got to be registered to do that. You got to get
but the problem is we want to register. We got those 8 million Blacks that aren't registered, but we got probably another 8 billion who aren't voting. And so we need people to do it. We got to be on both sides of it. We got to be incessantly registering everyone, incessantly turning out to vote.
Well, we have to do what LBJ said after he had signed the Voting Rights Act in 1965. He urged the Negro leaders, as he said, to go back and teach your people how to be citizens. Your work does not end at the voting booth. That's the end of the beginning. Excuse me. What you got to do then is you must actively lobby your representative, whether you voted for them or not, so that they can do what you need them to do. Believe me, even if they didn't vote for you, when you call their office, they'll pay attention, because your call, that one phone call, that one email represents X number of voters. You got to be involved. Otherwise, we can just go on and have a monarchy and call it a day. It's a republic, everybody. It's a very, 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 very sophisticated form of government, and you got to be involved in order for this to be a government of, for, and by you. So I love you. I can't wait to be with you tomorrow morning. John Nichols, sending you much love, my dear brother John. And Attorney Robert Patillo, have a great, great show this afternoon. I know it's going to be fantastic. Attorney C.K. Hoffler, thank you for getting Reverend up for us. Thank you.
Love you, C.K.
Oh, thank God for C.K. She said, you know, I can call him. We love you, C.K. Thank you.
You know, I would say that we just never had Reverend silence on any level. So there's only one way to get you where you need to go. So that's
well, thank you for calling him. And you said, no, I'll figure it out. Thank you for being my producer today. Thank you. Thank you for figuring it out. Oh, but God bless you all.
Thank you. One thing I want to clarify, Robert Armland's show is on Tuesday.
Oh, excuse me. Did I say Wednesday? I have you on my show.
11 to 12 to 1. So
oh, yes, we're Tuesday from 12 to 1.
But we follow Santita every single day. And thank you, Santita. Thank you, Reverend, for all that you all do.
Yeah.
Oh, Lord, help us, Jesus. But thank you.
Yeah, all the hard work.
It's a lot of it. But you know, there it is. That's what it's supposed to be, and it's a privilege to be able to.
And CK, you would be so proud if you had been on that call of Black lawyers organizing for election protection. I thought about it every step of the way. You know, it's just amazing, and Anita Baker's leadership just absolutely outstanding. Just thank you for what you have kept moving. That baton is definitely being paid out.
Wonderful. Thank you for recognizing my father. And again, all you do, what we did when I was in terms of voting rights, voting registration, came from Congressman Lewis, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Barbara Armwine, strategist, who was shaping it every single time. We thank you and continue to fight.
Thank you. Just thank you.
Love you all.
Thank you. Thanks, Santita.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you, CK, for all that you do. Robert Patillo, for all that you do. Have a great day, everybody. And hope you get a little bit of rest. I am going to try and do that right now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. God bless. See you all in the morning.